words like, I started in a nightmare, so pinch me, I'm dreaming, I'm killing off my demons because my soul's worth redeeming. Bro, like I say this like once a day because of how pertinent and how real that is. You know what I mean? When you think about that and his suicidal ideation that he admits to on this project, you get a different level of weight that puts on you. I'm dealing with all the ills, I'm tearing up like I'm on Dr. Phil. And then you hear ad-lib where it says cry. Like, who was the last rapper that you heard put cry on a project? You know what I mean? Like, come on, man.
Let me put you on game.
Let's move into our last topic of the day. Let's move into music. Let's talk about an artist that we are both really big fans of. I think he's got a new project out. I'm talking about Mr. Denzel Curry. If you're not familiar with Denzel, he is a rapper, songwriter from Carroll City, Florida. He is famous for his very energetic rap style. This is going to be his 5th studio album following his 2019 project Zoo. And this is Melt My Eyes, See Your Future. Denzel, I think, really outdid himself with this project, to give my opinion on it. I think that early in his career, he was very, to a good extent, he was very loud. He was very excitable. He made really hard hitting, very bombastic tracks. And I think his rapping ability was hidden amidst all of the chaos in his music. So I think you see him still having some of those kind of tracks on this album, but really stripping it back and showing you that he's honestly one of the best bar for bar rappers in popular music right now. I think he really is switching up his flows. He's changing up his cadence. He's going from hype to calm. Has these really pertinent lyrics that I think really paint a really great picture of the world that he exists in and where his mental state is. I think he just really paints a really dark, heavy picture with this album, but a picture that is beautiful nonetheless. He sounds like he has a lot on his shoulders, but I think that this is some of his best work lyrically. I think he was already great, but this is like God tier rapping, to be honest. Like he's really on one on this album, and it's really, really impressive. But what do you think about Melt My Eyes, See Your Future?
Yeah, man. I've usually enjoyed Denzel and his different projects. And I saw the artwork for the single Walkin, and it got my attention. I'm like, oh, okay. I see the anime themes here, the illusions. It's very, very Western-like, very aggressive.
Star Wars too.
Yeah. And then I heard the single and I needed more, and I needed more, and I needed more, and I needed more, because I played Walkin so many times since I heard that song. And I put it on for my wife, and she was like, yo, this is fire. I was like, yeah, this is fire. Like this.
You agree?
Yeah. And man, after anticipating a lot for whatever he had cooking up from that single, this project delivered mightily and properly. I was blown away by his penmanship. Like you said, it's on God's tier. And I couldn't believe how talented he is. I remember in songs like Super Saiyan and A+ that with Kenny Mason and Super Saiyan off Taboo, like he can rock with the best of them lyrically, and he has some talent, and that he's somebody to look out for. But we talk all the time about artists having bits and pieces here and there, but them not really putting it together. This we're seeing before our eyes, similar to like a Kendrick back in the day in Good Kid, Mad City, finally figure it out and put it together for a cohesive project that does so many things on different levels. I think that this is Denzel doing that. I think this is him stepping into his own and creating that magnum opus right before our eyes, man. I was blown away by his song choice and his production. It was fascinating. It kept me engaged the whole time. Every song had an incredible moment, line, or instrumental. There was no fluff. And then after seeing his interview with Anthony Fantano, I was able to realize how much thought he put into it. And it had me looking at the album in a different way. And it's evident by listening to it from first time through third time through fifth time. There's so much to gain from listening to this project over and over again. And it follows that Good Kid, Mad City, or The Cool with Lupe Fiasco, or other epic hip hop albums with artists who are really dense with their lyrics, and there's more beneath the surface, behind the stellar production, and there's more to uncover and to really appreciate. So yeah, there's something behind every nook and cranny of this project, and I can't wait to get into the track by track listing.
For sure. Yeah. And it's not just rap for rap's sake. Like he has this shit bumps. So it's not just lyrics with Denzel, but yeah, he opens it up with Melt Session #1, produced by Robert Glasper. And this is where I talk about Denzel being at his lyrical peak. Like the song doesn't even need a hook because he's carrying it like with his bars. So, he says, dealt with thoughts of suicide, women I've objectified, couldn't see it through my eyes. So for that, I apologize. I'm just hypnotized, working hard to empathize, strung out on love addiction, groupies when souls collide. I've been this way since the day I turned 6. I've been touched before, way before I touched mine. And then he leaves that blank. And there's just so much in that introduction of the album, which kind of gets you ready for what he's actually going to talk about for the majority of the project, where he's actually admitting to objectifying women and feeling like he grew from that and he learned from that. And just him being strung out on an addiction to love. And, even more pertinent, the fact that he was like sexually assaulted before he could even really process what sex was, so just that level of pertinence was really, really touching to hear, and really phenomenal production from Robert Glasper as well. And then he goes into Walkin, which, like you touched on, it's one of the best singles of the year. Cal Banks, who produced the majority of Isaiah Rashad's album, I think you can hear the connection between the two, because I love this song and I love that album. So Cal Banks is definitely one of my producers to look out for. But I love how him and Denzel essentially, pun intended, they walk you into the track by building on the instrumental until that bass finally kicks in on the second half, and you're already being serenaded by that beautiful like little vocal sample. Once that bass comes in and it goes from being like a boom bap song to something that really can just quote unquote bump in the whip, like it gets like it's just a really cool transition, but you don't get one without getting the other. And then of course, over the whole course of that song, Denzel doesn't miss a step lyrically. It's really infectious, and it's just a really enjoyable song. Like you said, it's been an earworm since it came out. Then he goes into Worst Comes to Worst. Great hook on that, great scratching on the track. I love Denzel's flows, and he touches on something that he touches on a lot of the album, which is his pessimism about the state of the world. He says, I look for God on the daily, praying that the Reaper don't take me in a land controlled by Hades. I'm feeling hasty, yet I'm moving hesitant. The air, the water, the rent, the food we eat is filled with pestilence. So it's just a really dark picture that he paints. And then that goes into John Wayne, which is produced by JPEG Mafia, oddly enough. But I could hear the quirkiness of the beat that you hear in JPEG's music. But I love that about the production, and then just really elite flows from Denzel on the first verse. But a really strong opening to a really strong album. What did you think about this stretch?
Yeah, I got to dive deeper, man, because this stretch, I think that we could have a 25-minute discussion about just these first two songs. The song Melt Session #1 opens with the warped synth horns and the soft piano keys that are excellent for representing the sound effects that are integral to the sound of this project. And I really like the vocal humming over the instrumental that created that calming and serene effect that allowed you to really move with his words and understand the state of mind that he's in during the creation of this album, and allows you to connect with the personable nature of this project, because he gets really raw, like you said, with some of the lines that you quoted from before. And this song it feels like an amends letter in a lot of ways, that an addict would make to their friends and family, and an open letter to his friends as well as his fans about what he's been through and why he is the way he is. And just lines like, try to separate the action from the man. I wholeheartedly understand why I need to grow, even though I'm grown. It shows me that he's taking therapy seriously, and that he's learning the difference between the two. The fact that like who he was is not who he is, and his actions are different from who you are as a person, and that does not have to define you. Yeah, we can go on for a long time with Mountain Sessions, but then the way this song transitions to Walking, bro, it still gets me emotional. Like I every time I hear Walking and I hear these two songs back to back, I well up with emotion because of the gravity that's in between these two songs. Like I thought the vocalist and the way that sample transitioned from Melt Sessions 1 to this song was just it was spectacular. It felt like elevator music, that or music that you might hear in like a therapist's lobby, like da 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 da, like to kind of get you ready to open up your emotions. But then they throw in the Western aesthetic, and then you get that boom bap hip hop style with the soft bass guitar. I was immediately intrigued, and then the continuation of the previous track, in terms of the theme of walking and what that symbolizes of Denzel seeing such a gritty, grimy, dirty world, and him being a culprit of some of that dirt, but him continuing to realize that he has to keep walking because that's the only thing you can't do. You can't dwell on the past. If you realize your mistakes, you can't continue to live that same life, knowing that that's not going to be the place, or the type of life sustain you. And I really, really loved his themes and symbols that he portrayed in this, as well as the video, which was straight phenomenal. Words like "I started in a nightmare, so pinch me, I'm dreaming. I'm killing off my demons because my soul's worth redeeming." Bro, like I say this like once a day because of how pertinent and how real that is. You know what I mean? Like my soul is worth redeeming. When you think about that and his suicidal ideation that he admits to on this project, you get a different level of weight that puts on you. I'm dealing with all the ills. I'm tearing up like I'm on Dr. Phil. And then you hear ad lib where it says cry. Like, when's the last rapper that you heard put cry on a project? You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Ain't no use, you gotta walk. Like, just like, oh man, okay. Going into worst come to worst, you gotta love the da 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 in the background with the scratching on the track. Brought me back to mid '90s boom bap, and just had me like really bumping. I'm like, oh man, he is cut from a cloth that I really mess with and I really enjoyed growing up. And it reminded me of They Reminisce Over You, LL Cool J, that De La Soul kind of vibe. Just that sound, I think he was really able to capture on songs like Worst Comes to Worst. And again, moving into John Wayne, and some of the nods that he makes to police brutality, and an interesting parallel of him feeling like he's John Wayne, who's a pop culture American icon, and feeling like that's who he is in the hood. And I thought that was a very interesting parallel, walking with the 9 on his waist, and just being ready, trying to be ready for all the evils that could affect him in the world. That was really an interesting parallel that you don't hear often, because I don't think Black Americans really see themselves as the protagonists in the Westerns. You know what I mean? But then, moving on to this next stretch of the album, it gets better. Somehow it gets better. Like the hook on this song was really infectious, a very strong headbanger. I liked how he was able to dive into melodic rap here on the verses. It created a sense of urgency. And it was a very, very dark song, with lines like, "And your so-called revolution ain't nothing but a post." Him kind of poking fun at the fact that a lot of activism is just for the likes and just for the clout online, but people aren't really about that life. And then him talking about colorism in the industry, and being it hard to escape poverty in the bad neighborhoods that he grew up in. The outro on this song was just heavenly, with the instrumental that transitioned mightily into mental. And then Bridget Perez, her vocals on this song were awesome. I really dug her performance, especially in the background of the verses. And it was really heavenly the way it transitioned from his verses to her chorus. And it was a relief, because the last was really dark, and just from Worst Comes to Worst to John Wayne to last could have you in a state of depression just listening to that. So it was nice that he was able to transition into a bit more upbeat and up-tempo style, with the brighter piano keys on this song Mental as well. Lines like, "Even as I start to get older, this music is bathing inside the fountain of youth, surrounding the booth is water. My mind is flooded with these flows, so get the recorder." Just, you know what I mean? And then going into Troubles, another really cool song that, again, leans on a great transition, featuring T-Pain. I like the auto-tune. It was a little more fun sounding, even though there's some dark elements here. It was at least more upbeat and more uplifting of a listen. And I just love the auto tune again. You know, I keep saying Ken, you know, because that ad lib by T-Pain was fire to me. But yeah, I enjoyed this stretch of the album. How about you?
Yeah, I think obviously I think this whole thing is great, but I mean this is another great stretch. The last another really dark picture of the world that we've been living with for the last couple of years with the pandemic and racism and systemic racism and protests and police brutality. He covers it all, and he really puts into perspective how hectic it's been. We've gone on with our daily day-to-day lives, but you know the world around us has really been burning. Whether you want to talk about the war in Ukraine or you know everything we dealt with the pandemic and everything else, it's just been a lot going on. But you know it's tough to put that in perspective, you know, in contrast with your daily life. But that's a great track. Mental, I thought was great. I haven't seen Saul Williams in a while, so to hear from him was really nice. Denzel holds his own with one of the best, you know, lyricists of all time. I think in Saul Williams, he opens with a verse that says, "Let me take you higher than herbalists climbing treetops. This is not rap, my nigga. This is more like bebop. Class of Freddie Hubbard. These words are uttered like dairy cattle, making sure the rain lasts forever. I'm sleepless in Seattle." Like it's just like effortless with how well he's rhyming on the bar. And I think Denzel, he takes a lot of lines that by themselves you can consider like corny, like maybe like uttered like dairy cattle, but like with how he flows and the stuff that he puts around the bars and the sincerity that he has in terms of what he's talking about, like it just goes off effortlessly. So it kind of goes from like, oh, that's corny to like, oh yeah, that's fire. It happens so often on the album. And then an excellent passage from Saul. I thought he he really covered what a lot of artists do and what Denzel does on this album in terms of making music out of trauma, which I think in a lot of ways is fundamental to the Black experience. He says in his verse, "Born of the resistance that birthed me, made music of everything. Is somebody recording these cries? Bodies blown through concrete, nobody based in that. Bombs, buildings crumbling. Repetitive gunfire got bass in it, but the cries drowned it out. Sampled a bomb blast in the Pacific and let it run to the earthquake on the other side and looped it." So it's like he's just taking natural disasters and war and murder and death, and like he's turning it into like musical terminology and how he would use it in that scenario. So it's just like a kind of it's kind of like a mind-blowing way to
Wow.
think about it. But yeah, Troubles is dope. I didn't like it at first because it sticks out like a sore thumb on the album. Definitely a single for sure, but it came to grow on me like on the third or fourth listen. It's a cool track. It's not my favorite, but it's not bad by any means, and it's pretty catchy. That goes into Ain't No Way, which is a hell of a posse cut. But really great verses from everyone, and it has a bit of a international players anthem, not in sound, but in how on International Players Anthem, one of the most unique things about the song is how the instrumental changes for every person's verse. Like every
Mm,
person's verse has a different twist on the same instrumental. And you see it on the verse with how it changes up for Rico Nasties, how it changes up for Jids, and then finally how it changes up for Denzel. So really great production, really switching it up to suit everyone's style. And then Denzel with one of the bars of the year, "Run the Jewels," because I kill a mic on every LP.
I wrote it down too. I wrote it down too, baby. That's a round of applause right there. Our RTJ
Elite.
fans out there, you know, he came and he represented. You know what I mean?
Definitely elite bar, and definitely a scrunch face bar for sure. You can't see, not everyone can see me right now, but definitely a scrunch face bar. X-Wing, you know, leaning into the Star Wars theme, of course. I really like Denzel sliding into a different lane. I didn't like it at first because it was such a departure from his sound, but he does trap music and melodic, you know, quote unquote mumble rap really well. I love the strings and the cascading piano, and Denzel getting on his melodic groove, I thought worked really well. And that goes into Angels, which excellent keys and snares on the instrumental. Excellent rapping from Denzel again. I mean, there's not a whack bar on this whole project, but I mean, he's at it again on this particular song. I love the switch to that kind of little James Bond style outro. Definitely
Mm.
sounded like GoldenEye at the end there a little bit, but yeah, definitely enjoyed that. But that was another strong stretch of the album. How'd you feel about it?
I loved it. I thought that Ain't No Way Posse track was great. The story of this, how this song actually came together, and how it actually wasn't even Denzel's song at first. I think it changed hands between Rico Nasty and Josiah, And then finally, JID, he kind of directed the song apparently, because they all happen to be in the same location or in the same city. And they all just, by circumstance happen to get into the studio together, get a little tipsy and just go at it. So the hook from Ain't No Way, like that came out of nowhere. And then it resulted in this song that wasn't even supposed to be Denzel's, but it just landed in his hands because he was able to actually clear everybody on the track and was able to put it on his project. So, that then going into X-Wing, I thought the piano keys were really nice with the emotional violin. It created a perfect kind of trap beat. And and it had the elements of live instrumentation that you don't often get in trap music. So I really enjoyed that twist on it. And then the way he incorporated things from my childhood, like Rey Mysterio, G-Shocks and Scarecrow, and that line at the end, gassed up, I'm Scarecrow, I reveal your worst fears. Like, come on, bro. Like, come on, bro. Give me more. And he gave me more, Moving on to Angels, produced by Kareem Higgins. I thought he went in on this first verse, man. Like, the bass guitar melody, the piano riffs, did a really great bounce with his lyrics and his flow. And it was just effortless, he was saying so much, but he made it sound so easy. And I really appreciate it because he gave you another memorable track. And then moving on into the smell of death, you can really feel the fingerprints of Thundercat on this song, and it's an insane instrumental. I felt like Beatrix Kiddo before she gives out. But it felt like Beatrix Kiddo before she is about to kill her next target in Kill Bill, you know what I mean? And like, it's a short track, but it has an incredible presence. It's really chaotic, but when you listen to it and you're like, this really sounds like, some Quentin Tarantino project, and it kind of fits that whole Western, that loose Western theme that you see throughout this project. Moving into Sanjuro featuring 454, just breakneck energy that was generated on this track. 454 had a really nice sounding flow in the hook, and he fit perfectly in between Zell's verses with the banging bass and real intensity, with lines like, all of this hate keeps spreading like pollen. I rise above it like flowers that blossomed. Like, more, give me more. I need more. And then finally, like these last two tracks, Zatoichi, incredible style on this track, the distorted vocals and the pace and the flow. It reminded me vocally of Rage Against the Machine and what they're able to do with their vocals. But the twist is that his penmanship still cannot be stopped by any kind of production, by any kind of instrumental. His lyrical creativity, it's underneath a lot of the twisted and left right sounds that he throws here. And he goes on to say, so beware, or give me your eyes, inclined to be wise. Don't let the 3-6 turn to a 9. Wait, let me rewind. Don't let the 3-6 hypnotize minds. So God is my guide. And when you think about what Zatoichi is, as a Japanese fictional character who's blind, you see how he interweaves that concept into becoming blind, allows you to have more access to wisdom, allows you to be closer to God in some way. And then you take that, and then you see the video that he made for this with his choreography and him doing kung fu, looking like Beatrix Kiddo, wearing the same, with the nods to Kill Bill, and just amazing cinematography. I thought creatively, like, this is kind of the apex of the project. And then finally, this beautiful outro in the ills with really nice piano, the creative production, the distorted scratching sound effect was a really nice way to end the project, along his two dope verses. Again, more lines. I could go on, but I don't want to say all the bars that I love there. I want to give you a chance to, tell me some of your favorites from this portion of the project.
Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a long review. I think we both really dived into this really heavy, but I mean, it deserves it because I think he put a lot into this project. And lyrically, he's on another level, man. I'll say more about it after we wrap up. Yeah, I can't really say it any better than you said it. About the tracks leading up to the close, they're all great for all the reasons that you said. But yeah, the ills, again, elite rapping from Denzel about the really intriguing battle he's facing about concerning the light versus dark within himself. He said, my mind is a playing field for mental arguments. My thoughts are saying my emotions is who started it. My personality always conflicts with other people. The good in me has never been conscious of seeing evil. I could be ferocious in my times of feeling feeble. Sick of life's ills, it could be short for illegal. Common sense, a victim to sensory deprivation. The mediator met with it all is in mediation. So it's just like, it's a chef's kiss of just him talking about how conflicted he is and how he's struggling with dealing with others and dealing with himself and his anger, and mixing that with how he feels like other people are going to perceive him, and trying to have this person who's a mediator within his own head to deal with all of these issues and all these personalities that he's struggling with. But yeah, it's great. It's his most introspective album thus far. But it's also, I think, his most pertinent, and I think it bumps the hardest too. Honestly, just for everything that goes with it. I mean, I guess to close my side of it, I'll just say that I think Denzel is crazy underrated. I think he's one of the most consistent and one of the most creative artists making music right now. He hasn't missed. He's always coming with something different. He's always challenging himself to create something that is a big departure from what you might have heard from him before. But he does it really well. He's one of the best rappers. He's one of the best songwriters. He's just great, man. And I think this project is a really good example of that. So I'm thoroughly pleased. I think this is excellent, and I'm really excited to see what he does next. If he just goes and does like an entire rock album, I'm here for that too, because I'm pretty sure he's gonna kill it. So yeah, shout out to Denzel. He did a great job, man.
Yeah, 100%. I would say we should go 3 favorite tracks. What's your 3 favorite tracks?
Are you killing me, Smalls, with 3?
It's only 14 tracks.
I know. I want to like list off like 7, but yeah, Walkin. Let's not bury the lead. It's one of the best songs of the year. It's gonna be on both of our year-end lists. I already know, but it's just that good. I'll go Worst Comes to Worst too. I think the la da 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 da, that's just such a really great hook. This is tough, man. I'm torn between I guess I'll go Zatoichi. I guess it's tough though. There's like a couple other tracks competing with that, but that's my 3. It's gonna change in the next 10 minutes, but that's what I'm going with.
Got you. I got you, man. I don't blame you. This is tough. I think for me, obviously Walkin. We already know. But, enough hasn't been said about this song because I want to say more, but I'm just gonna
it should be all over the radio. It should be the biggest hit of all hits. It goes
so hard, bro. But yeah, Walkin, X-Wing, I love what he did on this project, on this song in particular. I thought him just delving into that genre and outdoing it compared to a lot of other rappers and what they do was really spectacular to me. And then finally, Melt Sessions #1. This song it's so underrated.
Yeah, that was up there for me too. Yeah,
like he literally could have made this song the outro song, and it would have fit just as well as it did on the intro. So yeah, those are my 3.
Yeah. I guess if I had to give it a rating, we normally do ratings on a scale of hard pass to must listen. I don't think I have any doubts about it. Sometimes I waffle between ratings and I think about, what I would, for this person or who this is for. But if you like rap music at all, this is a must listen. It's that good, man. Denzel is on another level. He's leveled up with every project, but I think this is great. There's not really too many other words we can really say. I think it's a must listen. What about you?
Yeah, I got to give it a must listen as well, man. I think this might not be the easiest project to understand on first listen because it's so dense. I found myself needing to replay songs multiple times just to get through what he was saying, because his penmanship and his lyrical density is so what's the word I'm looking for?
So
viscous. It's viscous. it's viscous. It's like seeing sap just drip from a tree. It's just thick, you know what I mean? Full of calories and nourishment. The bars are there for days. You can just dissect this project for days. and the level of authenticity that I always love and that I love to see in music was brought out. And I think that he allowed that pain and that frustration to galvanize him to keep walking forward and to deliver this project. So thank you, Zell. I really appreciate you. And the flow, the delivery, everything you brought to this project was incredible and top notch and A1. And I love to see artists do this. So, you know, must listen for sure. Put you on game, stamp of approval.
Stamp it. It's official. I love reviewing these projects with you, bro. It gives a new, exciting look at music. Definitely a pleasure to dive into this with you. Definitely a pleasure to do this show. Let us know what you guys think about Denzel Curry and his new offering. We obviously love it, but let us know if you do or don't.